Welcome into episode 9 of the Teeth Time podcast. My name is Steven. I am a second-year dental student, still getting used to saying that. And welcome into another solo episode of the podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be recapping my entire first year of dental school. If you're an avid viewer of my channel, you might be looking at this thinking, well, he's already done that. And that would be true. I have done recap videos for both semesters. So when I finished my first semester of dental school, I made a video about it. I talked about some of the different things that had happened in more detail with a fresh memory, of course. I actually filmed that video directly after taking my final exam of my first semester. I liked the idea, so I decided to do it again. And I did it a few weeks ago now. I recapped my second semester of dental school, did it from home here in Nashville, Tennessee, outside, and just kind of did the same thing. Talked about school, talked about lab, talked about my social life and everything that was fresh in the memory specific about my second semester of dental school. I wanted to come back here, though, in the podcast and give you kind of a long-form discussion of my first year of dental school. No time constraint, the ability to just speak freely about everything that happened and to really just give you my full thoughts about this past year of my life. And it doesn't all have to do with dental school. I think getting to this age of 24 and discovering a lot more about myself and about where I want to see myself in life, it's allowed me to have a lot of thoughts. And so those are some things that I hope to share with you. I guess I'll give you a basic recap. So we started our school year last year in early July, so almost a full year ago. I can't remember the exact date. It was probably July 7th-ish, maybe. And that's when we began our first year of dental school. So the craziest thing about all of this is that I started dental school in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And every single person on this planet now has stories to tell about what happened this year or what happened in the year of 2020, because it affected literally every single person's life in one way or another. Some people profited off of it. Some people were really, really hurt by it in many ways. A lot of it was a financial burden on a lot of people, which was really sad to see. But for me, it came at a time in my life when I was beginning a new chapter. And I was beginning a chapter of my life that I'd been looking forward to for many years. And that was starting dental school. I spent a long time in my life looking ahead and thinking someday I'll be there. Someday I'll be a dental student. It'll come eventually. And all of a sudden it was here. It was part of my life and I was beginning. So if you're watching the video form of the podcast here on YouTube, you can look behind me over here where I'm pointing. That's where I had my desk set up for the beginning of dental school. Over there on that wall is where I started out with the entire process and just started in from day one. And I think I'll probably always remember my first day of dental school because I was home with my family. I was fully online, if that makes sense to you. All of our lectures were online, and they had distributed a schedule to us of lectures that we needed to watch, of Zooms that we needed to attend, and things that we had to do. And I was home here in Nashville, Tennessee, because our labs, our in-person labs, had been pushed back by COVID. So we weren't going to be starting labs until a month into school. So I decided to not pay a month's worth of rent in Memphis, where I'm in school at UT, and to save that money and stay home for the first month and do a month of school here in Nashville before moving to Memphis in August of last year. So I was home for my first day of dental school, and my parents went to work, my brother went to work, and I was literally here at my desk in my room here, my childhood room, kind of wading into the waters of dental school. And it was kind of funny because I remember doing like a couple hours worth of lectures and going through. I remember dental morphology was probably the first lecture that I ever did, just learning about some of the basics, some of the very, very intro dentistry stuff. And I remember thinking at the end of the day that I was super tired and super worn out from all of the time I'd spent on the computer looking at lectures. And I remember being kind of dramatic about it to my family. And I think that was just kind of part of it. You hear so much about dental school and about how hard it is and how much a challenge it is. A lot of that coming from people like myself who are on YouTube and in the podcast form here talking about dentistry and dental school. And so you go into it expecting it to be the hardest thing ever. In reality, if you can keep everything in front of you, and that's something I'm going to preach a lot, if you can keep everything in front of you, you'll find that the experiences of dental school are quite manageable. But I had my first day of dental school, and it was behind me. And I think just like anything in life, the experiences that we have in life, they're like a blink of the eye. When I was in the moment there on my first day and I was going through all my dental morphology and I was making notes, it seemed like the time was dragging out. It seemed like I had so much to do. But now looking back, it literally feels like the blink of an eye. It feels like that one day out of all the other days that I've had just was boom, there it was, there it went. And all of a sudden I had that life experience so long looking ahead at that was behind me. And at that point, I just started to settle in. I started to look ahead at our first exam. I had no idea how it would go. And I just started to gear into what would be a tough, challenging year with many of experiences for me to kind of go through. So that was the beginning of school for me last year. I had, like I said, I had a month of school that I spent here in Nashville at my desk in my room, in my childhood bedroom. And then I moved to Memphis, and that whole experience began. For any of you who don't know, and you might be curious, I actually live in a studio apartment a few blocks away from school at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, and my phone just fell. Excuse that. It's very real. I live a few blocks away from school, so I moved in August of last year and immediately loved my place. I have a beautiful apartment. I'm so extremely blessed to live there. And I had a space that I could create in any way I wanted to. And I could allow that space to harbor my need to, one, focus and get things done for school, and then two, to be creative and to do the YouTube stuff, which I wouldn't do for months after that point. But I moved in and I started to kind of experience life. Unfortunately, like moving to Memphis and going to school, I thought I was going to have a traditional first day of school kind of feel, where you go to a physical place and you start to have these experiences at school. You meet new people, you meet teachers, you learn the buildings and the classrooms and all sorts of things like this, like I've done so many times in my life since I was a young child. And I remember my first day of school on campus was a lot simpler than I thought it would be. We had to go on campus to get our ID badges, and then we had to go on campus to get our first dental kit. And that was about it, if I remember correctly. We had a couple of things to do on campus, but there really wasn't a whole lot because, like I said, we were fully online other than labs. And so it was just like this kind of almost anticlimactic experience where I was so looking ahead and looking forward to my first full day as a dental student on campus. And I didn't really get to experience much because we were just so online. And I think that right there was a microcosm for what would happen in my entire first year. I think a lot of us expected to have the experience that you do when you start at a school. And we didn't really have that. I mean, there's still a lot of people in my class that I've never seen before. I don't know what they look like. I don't know who they are necessarily other than their GroupMe pictures. And I think that's a strange realization. And it's been a very difficult thing, I think, for me to look at because, like I said, I looked forward to my time in dental school for many years. And I thought it would be a certain way, and it really hasn't. And a lot of the social aspects and a lot of the groundedness that you're able to achieve when you're in a physical place and you're doing something and you have that camaraderie with other people, a lot of that was gone. And a lot of it was felt like I was doing everything alone in a way. And that was certainly a takeaway that I had in my first semester. As I talked about in my recap video for my second semester of school, we got to be in person a little bit more this past semester. And looking ahead, which I plan to do at the end of this podcast, I hope that we have more in school or in-person things to do this semester, just because it feels very strange to do all of this alone in your room. And at times it almost feels like you're not doing it. It feels like you're just, I don't know what it feels like. It's hard to describe. So I got into the swing of things and I just started to understand what it was going to take for me to get through this. And I'm everything, like I said in my recap video last time, my first semester wasn't as hard as I thought it was. It really wasn't. And I think my second semester, in retrospect, won't be as hard as I thought it was as well. So let's just get into something a little bit more specific because I've just kind of been recapping some of the basics of how everything started. I wanted to talk about the most challenging moment or the most challenging thing that I dealt with this first year, just to kind of give you an idea where I was. The most challenging thing as an abstract idea was and then I'll get more specific, was actually just fighting away the feeling of being burnt out. I think, so I'm 24 years old. I've been in school my entire life. And I think that a lot of what I struggled with this year was feeling burnt out with school, with studying, with sitting at a desk and learning things that, I'll be completely honest, aren't incredibly exciting to me at all times. A lot of what I've learned in dental school has been exciting to me because it is dentistry, it is my profession. But there, even especially in this first year, has still been so much stuff that I didn't find myself becoming very passionate about. So the challenging thing for me was fighting through those feelings of being burnt out and not feeling motivated. And I've talked about it a little bit in short forms on YouTube videos and things. But it's been a very real thing I've experienced. And to be honest with you, the best way that I've combated that has been, of course, valuable time spent with my family and my girlfriend and my friends whenever I'm able to see them, but also fitness. I think fitness has been something that has been able to take me away from that feeling of being burnt out. When I feel like I don't want to go through 300, 400, or 500 Anki cards, I can go for a run and feel like this is my time that I have to spend on my own. I can do with it what I want, and it's not related to school. And of course, you have the physical aspects of stress relief that come with exercise. But that was just something that I kind of took solace in this first year, and I used to help me combat those feelings, because I definitely struggled with them, and I will again. At 24 years old, you've been in school for so long, you've been doing all of this studying for so long, and you get to a point where you're like, I just wish I didn't have to study anymore. I just can't wait till I don't have to look at the computer and study anymore and feel like I have this exam upcoming that's going to test my knowledge. And if I don't get enough of this learned, then my knowledge isn't going to be substantial enough and I will fail. That feeling right there. But what's funny? When I come home and I visit all of my friends from high school and college, now we're all in our mid-20s and everybody in my life has a job now, except for me. I'm the only one who is still in school. And the major outcome that I'm seeing from all of the people in my life is that their jobs suck too. They all hate their jobs. And part of that is that when you start out in the business world, at the very base level, your job is going to suck for a long time before you're able to work your way up. But it's just been funny to see how little people around me enjoy what they're doing, especially being, like I said, at the base level, and then comparing that to where I feel, where I'm kind of looking at it like, gosh, I just wish I could get to that next point and not have to study anymore. And it makes me think maybe life is just sort of about that. It's learning how to deal with things that you don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, in order to provide for ourselves and those around us that we love, we have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. And I'm not going to sit here and say, in 3 years, when I graduate and become a dentist, I'm going to love every single day of my life because I'm not going to be studying anymore. I guarantee you that's not going to be the case. I don't think that I will feel that at all. I think that dentistry is going to be quite a challenge for me. There's a lot of things that I look forward to about being a dentist and about growing a practice. I'm very excited to be a boss and to interact with my staff members every day. I'm excited to have staff meetings and to kind of get all of the troops in order and make sure that we're all doing the same things and we're all working towards common goals. I'm excited about building a physical building and practice, about making updates and changes to the building that we have. And I'm really excited about dentistry too. But I also recognize the fact that life is often about doing things we don't want to do. And you can't get away from that. You really can't. And so what you have to do is you have to find ways to enjoy the time that you spend outside of those things. So, like I said, I've found a lot of solace in exercise. It's something I now do every single day. I love doing it. It's become part of my life. But also just spending quality time. This weekend, I got to spend a lot of time with my friends from home and from college, and being around people that you have shared wonderful experiences in life with, and being able to go back and relive those experiences and those memories. It's such a wonderful thing. And I think the time that we spend in late high school and early college, that's filled with so many unique memories, and getting to share those with people that you've spent time with is a wonderful thing. So that's something to look forward to. And that's something that you should be thinking about. Because a lot of you are in this position now where you're not where you want to be. And you think that just getting to that next step is going to make you happier. And I promise you, a lot of the same challenges that you're dealing with now are going to still be there. And so you have to be able to find ways to get around that and to learn from it now. So that was a very long answer. I wanted to say that the most challenging moment, to be more specific than the burnout, was actually the first time that we had to cut preps in the maxilla. And I've talked about this, but this was the most challenging thing that I dealt with in my first year of dental school because it was so incredibly frustrating. The first time that we had to cut cavity preparations in a mirror through indirect vision up in the maxilla and maxillary teeth, I could not do it at all. And it was so incredibly frustrating. And I felt that the teachers did not understand how difficult it was for us because maybe they had forgotten what it was like when they first tried to do it. And they expected us to have all of these preparations cut. And I just could not do it. And so I remember going home that night and not only had I not been able to complete the assignments for lab, I was behind in school. I had all of this stuff to study and get through. And I just remember being incredibly upset and depressed and frustrated. And you know what? I think everybody's going to have a moment or two like that in school. And you know what? I also think I'm going to have more of those moments in my upcoming time in dental school and in my practice. That's another part of life, is just dealing with those moments where you feel like you're helpless. You feel like everything you're doing is wrong. It's not working. And you're just not able to be successful. But the interesting thing about an experience like dental school is that as many of those moments as you have, you'll have double or triple moments where you feel like you've accomplished so much and you feel very proud of yourself and you feel like your life is actually working out and things are heading in the right direction. And so that's a good segue into my next sort of point, which was the most rewarding thing. The most rewarding moment that I had or felt in my first year of dental school was just a very random moment. One of those moments in life that should mean absolutely nothing, but because of whatever unique DNA or wiring we have, feels like a very special thing. And it came in my first semester. It was a few weeks after we had received our scrubs and we were officially branded and badged with the UTHSC logo, and we were on campus as dental students. And I remember walking to lab one day, and I was walking by our dentistry building, which shows up on the top. It's got a big sign that says University of, I think it actually just says College of Dentistry, I think is what it says. And I was walking to lab in my scrubs. It was actually a beautiful day in the fall, pretty cool outside. And I looked up at the sign that said College of Dentistry, and I looked down at myself. I saw my badge and my scrubs and I think I maybe had my loupes or something in my hand. And I realized that I was a dental student and that I was actually doing this thing that I truly had been looking forward to my entire life. And it was real. And that's another thing about life. A lot of existential stuff here. But I think so much of our time spent in life is looking ahead at things we want to do. When we actually stop and we think about where we are, who we know, what we've done, where we've found ourselves, it's like this huge realization of this is like the dream that I had years ago come true. This is where I wanted to be for so long, and here I am. This is happening. This is real. So stepping aside from that, when you get ingrained in something, you kind of lose sight of the big picture. And so that was like the most rewarding thing. It was just a weird, random little moment. And I remember just smiling and thinking, I am doing this. And I think a lot of you out there, if you're wanting to become a dental student, you're wanting to go to med school, whatever it is, if you're looking ahead, you want to get a certain job, a lot of you right now are hearing that thinking, gosh, I can't wait for that moment. And I promise you it will come. And I promise you it is incredibly rewarding. And I also promise you, if you continue the hard work that you're putting in now, you will get to have that moment. And I think that in a few years, when I become a full-fledged dentist and I actually am growing my practice and I'm working every day and meeting new patients and taking care of people, I think I will have a similar moment that's probably even more rewarding when I realize that all of the hard work I put in is actually making an impact on my life, and it's actually making an impact on the lives of those around me. So I did have another prompt here, something I'm happy to not do again. I don't know if I can even really answer that, because I was actually thinking about it. Pretty much everything that I did in my first year of dental school, I'm going to have to do again at some point, because my answer to that question would 100% be biochemistry and histology from the first semester of school. But I'm very positive that those are going to be tested on again in our board exams. So I will be having to learn that material again. But at that point, I will be very happy to know that I don't ever have to learn those things again, because they're challenging for me. And I've never been super, super great at those heavy science courses. So I would say that those would be the things. But once again, I will probably have to do those things again. Maybe full teeth wax ups. I actually kind of liked waxing. It was the thing in the first semester that everybody complained about. I kind of liked it. It was relaxing. But the full teeth wax ups that we did were kind of challenging. And so maybe I'm happy that I don't have to do that again. But once again, I might. I'm not really sure. Maybe for our denture course, we'll see. But something I look forward to doing again. It's like sort of the opposite of that prompt. Really just, I look forward to continuing to grow in my ability to do dentistry. Because something that was very rewarding for me was realizing that I was getting quicker and faster and more efficient in my hand skills with operative dentistry. And if you go back, you listen to episode 8 where I talked to Teham, he talked a lot about how going from operative dentistry and some of the things that we do with like our inlay preparations, going then to full tooth crown preparations. When you go back to operative, you realize how much better you've gotten, and you realize how much more efficient you are. So I look forward at kind of comparing the evidence that I've put out there about my speed in dentistry to where I end up in a year or 2 years or 3, 4, 5 years when I'm actually really doing it every day. And I look forward to getting more specific into dentistry, to the hands-on stuff. Because man, the classroom stuff can weigh on you, but the hands-on stuff, as hard as it may be sometimes in the moment, it's actually very cool. And it's rewarding to find these new procedures and to challenge yourself with learning them. So those are kind of some prompts I wanted to talk about. The last thing that I have here on this list that I prepared, which is a very poor list if I have to say, is just a reflection on COVID and how that impacted my first year of school. Because I do have a lot of opinions on the pandemic and everything that's gone on. But for me personally, in my small chunk of thoughts on COVID, it has been kind of unfortunate that our first year was changed as much as it was by COVID, because I felt like, and I guess I kind of talked about this already, but I felt like a lot of what I did this year was alone. I spent a lot of time alone having these experiences and just feeling like sort of I wasn't really in it with anybody. And like I've said, some of this changed when I got to know some of my classmates more and we got to have some experiences in lab. But a lot of the social things that we would have been able to do in our first year and just those new experiences, they weren't really there for me. And it's not, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, my goodness, is that really that big of a deal? No, it isn't. It's certainly not. And I think that I'm incredibly blessed and to be in this position. I thank God for it every day. But the COVID thing was definitely kind of difficult just because it didn't feel like school in sort of a bad way. It felt like I was just doing something. I was just going online and finding these courses and just trying to have to wade through them on my own. And I didn't really have the ability to feel grounded in classes every day. So that was a challenge. It's just been a challenge for me. And I'm not even sure at this point how we're going to go moving forward into this next semester. I don't even think they've given us a definite decision on what's going to be happening. I think the latest I've heard is that we're going to have some of our lectures in person, and maybe they're optional or maybe they're split up into groups. I don't know. I just kind of feel like at this point we should be getting back to all of us in a room doing this stuff together, because if you look at the world, and maybe it's different in where you live, but there's a lot of places where people are living their lives. I went out to downtown Nashville this weekend. Downtown Nashville looks like downtown Nashville. Granted, it's changed a lot in the past couple of years, but it looks the way it always has looked. People are out living their lives. They're having fun. They're making new memories. They're doing things that that we do in life. And I think that we as a dental class should be able to start having those experiences again. We should start to be able to, get to know each other better and not feel like we have to go out of our way to see each other, because that's probably one of the best things about school, is just having all these people around you that you get to share this stuff with. And that's what we missed so much in the first year. So I hope that we're able to get back to being all together and to feeling like we have a person next to us on each side that we can go to for reassurance, that we can understand is in the exact same boat that we are. And it's something I look forward to greatly. So COVID changed a lot, and I think it made a lot of people feel like they were alone and that they didn't have a lot of people around them in the world to help them. I will say, if you are in a position where you ever feel like that, let people around you know. Let me know. I mean, people will know this if they've tried to message me on Instagram. I am horrible about responding to people. It is time consuming to respond to all the messages, but I do really appreciate people reaching out to me, because that means it's like a sign of a respect that they're showing me, that they appreciate my opinion. So I do love to try to help people, but let people around you know, let your family members know, let your friends know that, hey guys, I feel alone. I feel like I'm just doing this alone. And I can't speak for the people in your life. Maybe they won't, but I certainly would like to try to help you. And once again, going back to the advice I was giving earlier, try to find something in your life that you feel you can take charge of and that you're doing on your own terms. And that will be a great way for you to escape that. So we've gotten very, very existential. We've gotten very, very deep in this podcast. But my first year of dental school was something I will remember for the rest of my life. It is in a string of years that I've had for the past maybe 10 years where I just feel like they're just kind of bangers. Every year has just been filled with memories, filled with people and experiences that I will look back to my entire life. You can't go back and relive them, but you do have the memories. You do have hopefully pictures and videos to show you where you were at in life. And that's the way this past year has been. So kind of to very briefly, I'm at 27 minutes, very briefly to look ahead. What are some of my thoughts about my D2 year? I think it's going to be tougher, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be more challenging. And I hate to say that because I don't need more challenging than what I've already had. But just like I said before, I think if I can keep everything in front of me and to be a little bit more organized maybe than I was in my first year, I think I'll be fine. And I know I'll be fine. And I know that you will too, if you're about to be a second-year dental student, or if you're about to be a first-year dental student, or if you're about to be a sophomore in college or a freshman in high school, whatever you are, or 5 years into working your job. Whatever you are, I think you'll be fine. Just keep everything in front of you. Try to be a little bit more organized. Try to systematize your life in your mind and the way you think about things, and you'll be able to get through the challenges that every day presents you. So I think that second year is going to be tough. I think that it also is going to be a little bit more hands-on, which I think I look forward to that. I'm excited about that. And I really hope that I can get to know my class better and start to have a little bit more life experience that doesn't just involve me sitting in my apartment. And also would give me more material to show you on YouTube, because like I've said in the past, it's kind of tough to make sitting in your apartment all day and studying interesting for people to watch. But going out and seeing people and meeting people and having new experiences and doing all of this stuff in school is actually a lot more interesting. So I hope that we are able to have that. To give you a little bit of an update on everything else, I've been working on a little bit of branding for the Teeth Time podcast and just like my channel in general. I've been watching some people on YouTube that do branding videos where they use Adobe Illustrator and they make logos and things like that. And I'm very, very average at all of that. I'm not that creative, but I've been trying to use some of the elements that I've seen people use in my own branding. And so that means that I'd like to release some merch at some point in the next couple of months, maybe for the Teeth Time podcast. If you're interested in that, let me know. And I do want to kind of put out some things that you can wear. Very, very subtle. My style is very simple. I like simple shirts, simple shorts, nothing crazy, nothing out there. I also like the athletic look. So I'm going to try to come up with some clothing that is kind of similar to that style. Also, it is the last week of my break here from dental school, which is extremely unfortunate to me. this break has flown by, and a lot of it has had to do with the fact that I've actually been very busy, and I haven't been able to create as much as I was hoping to, which is fine. But I am at my last week of my break, and so expect to see, I think I'm going to do one running vlog for sure. And then also I think I'm going to do another Notion planning video for this semester, which you guys actually really enjoyed, the video where I planned my semester out last year. So I'm going to try to do that. And then I'm heading back to school next week. See, today is Monday, so I will have next Monday off. But a week and a day from today is my first day of D2 year. And goodness gracious, man, it's flying by. So I'll try to film it. I hope there's stuff for me to film that's interesting. That's always the issue that I come up with for vlogs, but I'll try to film it. And we're going to have plenty of fun content to get to this semester. Another thing I'm looking forward to is a dental kit video for this semester. Our dental kit is very, very expensive this year or this semester. So look forward to seeing all the things that are in that. And I just look forward to documenting more and more. Something I talk about a lot, but we'll see where time takes me and time takes you, and hopefully we all can enjoy it together. So that's pretty much been it for this episode of the Teeth Time podcast. As always, if you're on my Instagram or my YouTube, steven.p.ray.dentistry on Instagram and then on YouTube, just let me know where you're at. Let me know if you're enjoying the content. Let me know what you'd like to see. I've got some really special and exciting guests coming up for the Teeth Time podcast, and I want to hear from you. If there are any guests that you want to hear me talk to that you also like listening to or watching on YouTube, let me know, and I will definitely meet up with them and humbly ask them if they'll come on this podcast and talk with us, because I love doing that. But I'm excited. I've got 2 guests lined up for the next couple of episodes that I think are going to be awesome. So I look forward to all of you being able to hear that, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever you're using to listen or watch. I appreciate you, and I love you all. And I look forward to my D2 year. It's been fun experiencing the first year of dental school, but hopefully it's even more fun in the second year. So that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to the Teeth Time podcast. I hope this conversation was at least somewhat enjoyable for you. Remember to check out my YouTube channel, that's Stephen P. Ray on YouTube, where you'll find plenty of visual content about the life of a dental student and creator. Also check out my Instagram at steven.p.ray.dentistry. Long name, I know. I appreciate each and every one of you. This has been Teeth Time, and I'm out.